Hey, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal Podcast. It is Masters Week. If you are a golf fan, or just the Masters. So it's the biggest tournament of the year, the first of the major tournament season. So I'm doing a Masters Week preview, predictions, DFS, all the things that goes into the Masters. So so be on the lookout for more content today and beyond until Thursday. So, but I have a great guest returning back to the show who is plugged in all things golf betting, strategy, all those things. So if you're into golf betting, this is the one for you. So I will bring him in just a minute, but hit my music. Let's get it. All right. Once again, it is Masters Week 2026. This is the 90th Masters. Wow. I mean, it's been a long time. And as I said, this is one of the tournaments. It's not just a tournament. This is like the biggest thing in golf as well. Augusta National, anyone that's a fan or anyone that just loves golf and things like that. This is the one. And it's this week starting on Thursday. But I will be, like I said, bringing in my guests in a little bit. But before I do, you can follow the show on all the podcast platforms, whether it's Spotify, Apple, also BS3 Network, BS3TVLive.com. We're also on the YouTube channel, BS3 Network, Roku channel as well. Wherever you get podcasts, you can follow there and like, subscribe, and all those things. You can follow me on all the social media platforms, whether it is X, now it's at Get the Real Deal. My personal page was hacked, so you can follow me on at Get the Real Deal. That's where all the content will be now, and also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, wherever you follow at Get the Real Deal, we are there. Well, let me bring in my guest. Like I said, this guy is one of the best at it when it comes to golf content, betting, DFS, anything you got, anything you want. He's one of the best at it as well. He was the 2023 FSWA Golf Writer of the Year, back nine and best. The FG Fantasy Golf Degenerates show as well. Mayo Media Network. Shout out to Pat Mayo as well. One of the best on to ever do it as well in the golf betting space as well. So let me bring him in, the model maniac himself. Byron, what's good, man? Thanks for coming on again. Really appreciate it.
Courtney, happy to be here, my friend. I had to plug in both headphones for the intro, as always, because that music is just baller. I love the intro. It's
Thank you, man.
so fire, and it gets you really hyped to talk about a tournament that doesn't require that much hype anyway.
No,
It's the
right.
Masters, baby.
Exactly. It is the Masters. And like I said, there's so much content, so much things happening. As you said, this is the 90th iteration of the Masters. And this is, like I said, this is the tournament. This is the one. This starts the major season as well. So it's tip off. So I was glad to have you on my Masters Week preview show. So how's have you been, man? I know you said you've been busy. Everything is like full force, and you've been doing this all for a long time. But when the Masters come, it's like, okay, now we hit the ground running. But all the tournaments even before, you've been just plugged in as well. But how's everything going?
Everything's going great. I think I am a little tired today by accident. Me and a buddy of mine went 6.5 hours streaming last night, going through every single golfer. So if I've ever been plugged in, it is this week for sure. So I'm ready to rock and roll. It's been a good year, looking to have a good Masters. It's one of my favorite weeks, and it's just, a nice time to just lay as much juice out there as you feel like it.
Yes, if you're like say if you're into the betting, and this is where it's kind of like Super Bowl in a way, where if people just they just say, hey, I want to do the majors. I want to get into, but people said the Masters doesn't need a lot of introduction. People know it and everything. And some people they bet on this so much, kind of like I said, kind of like Super Bowl. They just jump in and say, oh, we know this as well. Even like the casuals, they know the Masters and the storylines and Augusta National and things like that. So you're right. So, but yeah, like you said, you've been doing a lot of. I saw, like you said, you had a 6.5 hour show as well, and you also did, were on the Fantasy Golf Degenerates. That was on, yeah, I think it was yesterday. I listened to it yesterday and everything too. So he said, I'm sure you got much more coming up.
Yeah, I'll be having Tee Off Sports on tonight. So we're kind of just rattling off all the shows. The best thing about the Masters is you get all the odds over the weekend. You get all the DFS pricing early. So you can pump out the content early and just get those views up, baby, and just have a good time. So you guys must hit the like, hit the subscribe, wherever you're listening to Courtney's Get the Real Deal over here, baby. We are looking to get through the roof, taking all golf content to the moon this week.
Yes. All right. Well, let's get into it. Let's rock it. Let's rock and roll. As you said, Augusta National, we know it's a historic venue, historic golf course, and everything too. But my first question is, like every year's different, with weather and this is supposed to be like one of the best, weather stretch for the Masters. I think they said since 2019, it was going to be like 75, 80, 85. So it's going to be a nice weather, but sometimes it rains and it's like cold and things like that. But the stretch of the weather. But talk about what you're looking forward to when it comes to betting with the Masters in this 2026 season.
Yeah, it's looking delightful. Thursday's looking breezy, 10-mile-per-hour winds on Thursday, but Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if you make the weekend, you're going to be playing. Oh man, no matter how bad you're playing, the conditions are going to be beautiful.
Yes.
In those conditions, so it's going to be really nice and calm and sunny and perfect temps. It has been rather dry in Augusta the last little while, so I don't think we've got too much rain there. So the course is going to be playing firm. But as always, Courtney, whenever I'm going into the Masters and betting outrights, since the last 9 Masters, 8 of the winners had either finished first or second in a major before that. The person doesn't check that box was Scotty Scheffler in 2022. He'd had a 4th place finish, but he entered the Masters as the world number 1. So you can kind of call that a second place as well, right? He'd won 3 times to lead into the tournament, I think. So it is something you definitely want to look for. If you don't have a second place or a win in a major, I'm not going to be betting you on my betting card. I will save those players for the US Open, where we've seen JJ Spahn, Wyndham Clark, 23rd, 75th as their best major finish, at those kind of venues. So that's the place to bet the debutantes. We've never seen a debutant win this tournament outside of Fuzzy Zula back in the day. I don't think you and I weren't alive. I don't think back.
I don't think so.
That doesn't matter to us. So no debutantes on the card, only second places and wins. Let's get it.
Yes, and you're right. And I think even you said over the years, it has been like the names, the big names, you can go, you said, go back to Jack and Tiger and, Phil, those guys, like those top guys. And even now over the last couple of years, Scotty, Roy, the names, Hideki, who, even at that time, Hideki was coming right up, and he was a, guy that was, just saying, okay, I'm here, I've arrived, just because of the talent. So, you have those type of guys that wins, and it seems like even heading into this in this tournament this year, it just seems like, okay, it's going to be another top performer. As you said, it's just those top 2, top 3, and Bryson's knocking on the door, others, we're going to get into all those names. John Rahm, another winner. So it's it's always those big names. It seems like those are the ones that even this year seem like that's where the betting is going to.
Yeah. And, even since they've lengthened this course up a little bit, I was chatting to Kenny. One of my favorite moments was Trevor Immelman winning this tournament back in 2008. He doesn't, if that tournament was happening now, he doesn't stand a chance. Zach Johnson, Mike Weir, all of those guys, the wedge aficionados. This course is a different situation now. We don't see these guys laying up on the par 5s anymore. They're going for them with 7 irons and 6 irons, so long iron proficiency, long hitters. The studs are the guys that you're going for. We got Scotty, Rory, and Rahm that have won this thing the last 4 years. That's just, if that tells you anything, that's what you need to know.
That's what you need to know for sure. We got some comments here. Nathan Ramasandra, he says, "What's up? Thanks for tuning in." He said, "This year's Masters will be interesting." He said, "A lot of great talent."
Yeah.
younger golfers. Yes, we're gonna get into all of him, but you said those studs are those names that people know and they're gonna click on, especially when they get those set those lineups in as well. But let's talk about some of the biggest storylines at the top of the lead, at the top of the board. It looks like there's a lot of questions heading into this Masters. Scotty Scheffler, congratulations on he's having a new baby. And like I said, no one really knew if the baby was born yet. If they just announced it was 10 days ago, baby was born. So congrats on him. And he's playing. He's in. He's the betting favorite still, as always, but it's coming in not with the greatest form into his standards, as we say, quotation marks, with the historic season he had last year. But not coming in at the greatest form. Maybe it was because his wife was pregnant. It could have been something like that. But he's still Scotty Scheffler. So, but he's coming in there. Roy, another question mark with the bad back. How healthy is he? We have that, and you got Rahm and Bryson coming from Live back into the tournament. They're playing at high level right now, playing with great form heading into this. But at the top of the board, a lot of question marks. Is it just those four, or other Kawa? He's coming with an injury as well. But all these names, big names that are favorites. Which one are you leaning towards when it comes to that top of the board?
Yeah, I think with Scotty, it's tough to bet him. If you've bet a single future so far at 5-1 now, then you're getting really short on your guard. You've got to cash this thing basically once every four bets, like every four Masters, basically, if you're going to be betting Scotty Scheffler with a couple futures. Rory's got a double back situation because he's got the back problem that he had, that he withdrew from the API and then kind of struggled at the Players. But he's also going back to back. He's going to try to go back to back.
Yeah.
And we haven't seen, outside of Scotty Scheffler and Jordan Spieth, who have followed up the following year with a top 10 finish.
Right,
other than that,
right.
it's been bad, So the demands from a reigning champ, green jacket holder, you got the dinners, you got media, you got expectations. It's just different, right? So I don't expect Rory to play well. And we've seen his odds. I'm looking at board now. He's 15-1 out there right now, and it's drifting. It could keep going, and I still wouldn't bet it because it's not easy to follow that up. But I know Kenny is big in John Rahm. I'm leaning Bryson. Bryson's won twice now on Live. He's got that fantastic form coming in because you're looking for those second places. All of these guys at the top of board have them, but we've got 2 wins from Bryson. Rahm's got like 3 seconds and a win. So those are the 2 guys, funnily enough, not on the PGA Tour, that are really coming in hot. And we don't necessarily know how good that form is on Live, but you can only finish first and you can only finish second in a tournament you're playing in, and they've done it a lot. So
they've done it a lot. Yeah. That's a good point. And as you said, with Rahm and Bryson coming in from Live, they say we don't know the great form what they're doing. They said they've been winning. John Rahm finally won on Live as well, so he seemed like his game is getting back on track. But you said Bryson, even last year, finished, I think he was 5th last year, and he was right in the mix. I mean, he was in the final group with Roy. So it just goes to show that he's figured it out. Figured Augusta out, it takes some time. As we said, with the way the course is, it takes time to be before you're like, okay, I've kind of figured this out as well. But you brought up a good point with Roy too, being the defending champion, finally getting that win to complete the Grand Slam for his career, and that weight off his shoulder. Do you feel like he will play more freer? Does he, or is he gonna, still have that, like, that weight because of being the champion? You said the dinner, media attention, more media attention, and dealing with an injury, and we don't rarely see back to back winning the Masters as well. So I think the last one was Tiger, I believe, right, back in 2001, 2002,
I think
somewhere
so.
in there. Yeah. So I mean, you're talking. That it hardly ever happens. As you said too, it's finishing top 10, and when you win, also you don't see that much either. So Roy's still got some pressure on him, but does he play? Do you feel, in your opinion, does he play more free because he has that? Finally got that weight off my shoulder. I got the Grand Slam, but now, or does he just go out there and say, "Hey, I'm just going out there and see what happens"?
Yeah, Courtney, I bet Rory, after winning the Masters at the PGA Championship, I thought the man would go on a tear,
Yes.
because it had been forever since he'd won a major, never mind just the Masters, right? It's been
Right.
over like a couple, was it a decade that he hadn't won
Decade,
a
I
major
think.
for?
Over 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I
Yeah.
thought the can was off. The worms were flying all over the place, but we got wormed. We got hooked by the worm.
Yeah.
And, he took up until he went to the Open Championship, he finished 7th there. He finally found himself a top 10. So
Right.
it took 2 or 3 starts after the Masters that year to still find a top 10 in the major. And he's just a little too inconsistent, in my opinion. I am eyeing out that Bryson 12-1 at the top of the board. I'm definitely eyeing that out. Potentially hoping that kind of drifts a little more. I just want to see some tee times. I want to see a bit weather. I'm just kind of biding my time. But I have got a couple guys in the middle of the board that I'm in the mood for that I already
Okay, yeah, and that's what you said. Like if that number shifts and those 4, everyone's attention is on Scotty, Bryson, and Ron, which we've been seeing and hearing. Roy could be squeezed, and if he's squeezed and he said the number's right, he probably will be betted on a lot. Even I'm talking like Wednesday night, Thursday morning, where if all the attention and all the ownership is on those other 3 guys, and they're thinking, oh, this is Roy McIlroy. He could just still come in here and still finish maybe top 5, top 10. But as you said, on those odds, he has to either win or finish top 3. So that's one of those things. All right, let's talk about the middle of the board. What names, even from a DraftKings perspective, what other names are you looking into from the middle of the board?
So the Masters is, we've mentioned all of these trends, and you're seeing everyone on Twitter trending, and all of these things, 12 or 14, 8 of 9, all of this stuff. But the course history at this golf course is undeniable. If you just look at a statistical profile, it is double, the bar charts that they have on Data Golf there for correlations for course history. It is double what you see at like Murfield Village, Quail Hollow, RBC Harbortown, like those kind of places where guys play well all the time. This golf course the course history is even stickier. It's like super glue at this venue. Yeah. So if you are playing good golf at Augusta in the past, you are looking to play good golf. Ludwig showed up in his first major, in his first Masters, and finished 2nd, and then finished 7th here last year with a triple on 18. So I'm in on Ludwig. There's a 17.5-1 out there right now on DraftKings, which I would bet. I already, grabbed a 22 over the weekend at the Players when I thought he was going to go on to win that thing. And then he kind of showed us now the last couple of weeks that he's had a bit of a Sunday problem. But if there's a place for him to get it together, it's at the Masters. He's been ultra comfortable around this golf course. So hopefully he can take care of business in that department there. I think he's absolutely live. I've seen Colin Morikawa mention, the back, for me, it's not bettable at all or playable. He has not felt comfortable at all playing golf. He said he's going to have to play a different style of golf.
Oh, that's not good.
Because he can't swing the way he wants to.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have any trust in his swing. Like a back injury you got to have, around Augusta, you have to be completely committed every single shot. Yeah. And I think there's just going to be way too much doubt in his head. I think I've seen a plus 300 for him to miss the cut out there. Not bad. Not a bad look, because he'll definitely start. He's not taking anyone's place. If he doesn't play this week, no one else will be joining the field. The field's set.
Yeah.
So there's no reason for him to not try. And there's a good chance he misses the cut or WDs if he's, feeling that way.
Wow. Yeah. And going into this, I listen to you all the time and others, but talking about Colin Morikawa before the injury, he might have been the favorite heading into this turn and heading into the Masters, because there was so many good numbers and his form and it seemed like his game was back actually. And then next thing you know, he WDs at the Arnold Palmer, and then I think I'm definitely gonna stay away from Colin, because I just don't know how healthy he really is heading into it. And you said if he's changing up part of his game heading to the Masters, a venue or a course, I should say, there where he plays well here, but you're changing up your form, your game. It's like, that's a recipe for just to stay away.
Yeah. I bet 2 units on Ryan Fox at the Houston Open a couple weeks after he had kidney stone surgery. What was I doing? Why would I even try that? He's playing well, sure. If he plays well, and you don't bet him, so be it. But no, there I was losing 2 units on Ryan Fox because he missed the cut, because of surgery. And after you get cut open, man, you just don't play the same. Or when you got a back injury, it's like the hinge point of where you're swinging. So you have to have confidence in your body, and I don't think Colin's got that going on.
Yeah, and if you,
yeah,
no, go ahead.
Who I do have massive confidence in is Xander Schauffele, and it comes in the form of if you have BetMGM or I think Bet365 have top 20s in all 4 majors this year at 7-1. Xander Schauffele is a top 20 juggernaut. He's just been non-stop top 20s. I think the most recent non-top 20 he had was in 2025 at the PGA Championship. Outside of that, it is an absurd run of golf that he's been going on to. You got to go back to the Masters in 2022 for his last non-top 20 outside of that PGA Championship. So it's top 20s all the time for him, and it's 7-1 for all of them. I did the math. If you put a unit down to win your top 20 bet this week, and then you take that winnings and the investment and you double it down and roll it over for the next 4, you're not going to be getting to that 7, especially if he keeps playing well, right? That number's going to be getting longer and longer on you, or shorter, so I say. And as a result, you're gonna miss out there. But he's someone I'm in the mood for in that market for sure.
Yes, I'm all in on Xander. Very all in. He's going to be in a lot of my DraftKings lineups. I actually have him. I picked him early. I'm picking him to win. I just think, as you said, he's been rounding into form after having a down year last season. Coming off an injury and then starting late and just trying to round himself back in form. It was just only a matter of time.
Yeah.
I'm sure for us, it took some time, but it's like you said, it's got to get his confidence back. And you said coming off the injury, starting the season late last year, but now this season, he said he's rounding into form and good course history as well. I'm all in with Xander. Another guy I wanted to ask you about was Cam Young. It's another one that's I've heard that name. This course fits him with his skill set. It seems like so he's getting a lot of play, a lot of talked about too. But what do you think of Cam Young and also Patrick Reed, a guy that's just you talk about form and or talk about say tournament history. This guy has some of the best ever since he won in 2018, and now it's just he said he knows this. He knows Augusta National at the back of his hand. So, what do you think of those two guys, Patrick Reed and Cam Young?
Cam Young is interesting. We've got a 9th and a 7th here as his 2 best finishes, but Scotty won the Masters with a 22nd or a 23rd as his best Masters finish. He obviously had that 4th place in another major, though. Charles Schwartzel, Danny Willett, they all have won this tournament. John Rahm, Decky, Sergio, none of them had top 3s at the Masters before winning it. I think one of their best finishes was a 4th, right? So you don't necessarily need like high-end finishes at the Masters. You just need to play well in majors. Cam Smith beat Cam Young in the 2022 Open Championship, where he notched a 2nd place. So there's box number 1, most important box for Cam Young checked. He's got that 2nd place in the major, coming off the Players Championship win. He's now obviously, we've got multiple people, Courtney, this week. Matt Fitzpatrick, Cameron Young, Bryson, who else? JJ Spahn, all coming in with their last start being a win. We've got like 5 or 6 guys in the field with their last start being a win. It's kind of crazy to think about. So he's absolutely live. I think he's very popular. He's a little less safe, in my opinion, because a lot rides on that putter, and we've seen him miss 2 cuts here as well in the last 4. So he's going to be popular, and there's not much to dislike about him. But I like Patrick Reed a little bit more. I love the course history. I've bet Patrick Reed ladder. So I've bet him top 20 at plus 124. Patrick Reed's finished inside the top 25 of the last 6 Masters. Remember how good course history stickiness is, Patrick Reed is, like you mentioned, it's one of the best course histories, and you're getting plus money with ties paid in full at plus 124 for a top 20. Like, that is, my mother-in-law asked me over Easter, what bet do you want me to place? I've got $7 in my Caesars account. What do you want me to do with that? I was like, throw it all on Patrick Reed and then just expect to have like $15 back in your account after this. I think that's the way to go, in my opinion. He's been so sensational. He's 45-1 the last time I checked to win this tournament. Like, where is that coming from? He's got a fourth and a third in his last 3 years. That hole behind you is he had an 8-footer for Eagle on Sunday. If he makes that 8-footer, he's in the playoff with Justin Rose and Rory McIlroy. He three-putted. He three-putted from there. So, like, yes, he holed out a couple holes later from the fairway, but, it still shows you how close he was to being in contention, and that is constant. He's the Masters winner here. He knows how to get it done. He's won twice this year already, playing great golf. Seems like he's in good space, headspace there, trying to make his way to the PGA Tour. So bet him top 20, bet him top 10, bet him top 5, and you can bet him to win. All that DraftKings, those are the best odds that you can find out there with ties paid in full on the top placement markets.
Yeah, Patrick Reed is the name that I'll be clicking also. And as you said, he's 9,000 on DraftKings. So you can actually put, have a lineup with just him. You can have him. And he said another top end guy. It could be Xander, Ludwig. You can start with those guys and then get into that bottom range and really put a balanced lineup in. I think that's a good way to start as well. All right, let's go into some of these other to the bottom, like you said, 7,000 or less, 7,000 up on DraftKings and others. What other plays do you like at that? I guess it'll be mid tier to in DraftKings at like 7,000 to 8,000 range.
I'm going to start a lot of lineups. Bryson, Patrick Reed, Harris English, $7,300. Harris just had his 12th place finish here last year. It's his best finish at the Masters. He's lost 4 Masters. He's got a 21st, a 22nd, and a 12th. By the way, people, if you're just tuning in for the Masters this week and didn't watch any of the other majors last year, Harris English finished second in 2 of them.
Yes.
And, he's just undercover and just doing his thing. He's $7,300. We got a 12th, a second, and a second in 3 of his last 4 major starts. Like, this guy's pedigreed. He's fantastic off the tee. He loves hard conditions, and he's shown you. I don't think he hasn't missed a cut in a major in an eternity. Since returning back from the hip injury in 2022, 2023, if you remove those 2 years from his track record, he doesn't miss cuts at majors. He's just
right.
And
the cut maker.
The cut maker. And it's high-end finishes too,
Yep.
Even during that stretch, he had an 8th place in 2023, and then we're starting to see this good form coming. Now, this year, he hasn't finished inside the top 20, but he hasn't finished outside the top 30 in all of his starts except for the Players where he missed the cut. The Players is volatile. It is what it is.
Yep.
So I've bet Harris English for a top 30 at plus 122. Ties paid in full. I mean, if you take a look at what he's got up to here at Augusta, we've just mentioned 3 of the last 4 times he's cashed that top 30, and he's $7,300. I don't think he'll be that popular. It's just because people don't respect the man. Put some respect on that man's name.
Yeah,
baby.
Put some respect on his name. Yes.
Yeah. So he's my guy. And then another name that I don't understand why he's in the 7K range. Russell Henley, I think he's 11th or 13th in the world. He's $7,900. He's got a 4th place finish here in 2023. Last year, he had 2 top 10 finishes at the US Open and the Open Championship. He's $7,900. You're getting a top 10 finish from this guy. He could win a major at some point. He won the API a year ago. So he's definitely capable of winning tournaments on difficult golf courses. And I would, he avoids bogeys like the best of them. So Russell Henley, $7,900.
Hey, those are, good picks. Again, you're looking for guys that might be in good form, who has some course history, as you said. That's the stickiest part of this, especially in the Masters, and that you take a lot of for credit for that with the course history. Some tournaments I see that we talk about course history, but sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes they could just be good sometimes and then bad sometimes. Augusta National seems like the course history is like the one of the main components when it comes to this, when picking your lineups and bets and things like that. So there's a couple of names there. A couple of names I want to ask you about. What about Corey Connors? Ball striking, great fit. He's compiled 4 career top 10s at the Masters as well. So what do you think of Corey Connors?
$7,700, very cheap. I think you could go Bryson, Patrick Reed, Corey Connors, Harris English, Russell Henley.
Right.
I mean, then we're looking Gucci mama. I think that's exactly what I'm in the
Yeah.
mood for. I think Corey's a fantastic cash game play at that price. He has won on the PGA Tour twice.
Yep.
They've both come at the Valero, which was last week. He skipped the Valero last week because when he's won the Valero, the next two times he's either missed the cut or finished 46th. So I think he kind of avoided a disaster for himself because if he played too well at the Valero, he was kind of jeopardizing his Masters finishes. And
Yes.
he kind of just decided, I'm going to skip that. I'm going to focus on the Masters, and off we go. And, we've got those an 8th, a 6th, and an 8th in his last 5 starts with the 10th the year before that. So, like you mentioned, 4 top 10s for a $7,700 guy at a course, history heavy golf course. Let's go.
Yes. Yes.
I'm going to dive into Sungjae Im as well, Courtney.
Okay.
Speaking of
Yeah.
debutants, who finished second in his debut in 2020, Sungjae Im. He's not necessarily playing the greatest golf. He wasn't playing good golf in 2025. He still finished 5th here. We've got 3 top 8 finishes from Sungjae in his track record at the Masters. So he showed up at the Valspar a little bit as well. So he's got a bit of form going on, and this golf course he absolutely thrives at. So I'm interested in him a lot at $7,500.
Yeah, and the concern with him is you said he missed the first 2 months with a wrist injury. So, as you said, he could come in and you said has had great success finishing runner up in 2020 and 8th in 2022 and 5th last year. So course history that's been the main topic when it comes to this as well. I've heard names also early. Chris Goddard. What do you think of him heading into the Masters?
It makes a lot of sense. He's got a 3rd at the Open in his last major start, and Waste Management, he won that. Sony, he won that.
Yeah, he's been winning.
He's been winning. Has it been a win in a signature event? Not yet.
Right.
Granted, the 3rd place at the Open is sensational, but the more the wind there is, the better for Chris Goddard up, in my opinion. He's from Oklahoma. That's what he does. He balls out in the wind. Not necessarily chipping the ball that well this year, and there's not going to be that much wind over the weekend. So, like, the best conditions for him to thrive in, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's going to be fire at those flags, baby, and make birdies, kind of, depending on how hard the golf course is playing, right? So I think he's going to be very popular for a debutante, and especially someone that's kind of struggled with the chipping and putting at times. He's not a very consistent chipper and putter. A golf course like this can bite you, if in your debut.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, that it's not going to bite you that much on the ball striking front. It's going to bite you on and around the greens where slopes and nuances and grains and things like that can cause you some headaches. So I think, what do you think his ownership's going to be? I could be well into the 20s, this guy.
It could be. It could be. I mean, his name has popped up a lot. I saw that and I'm thinking, okay, yes, as a debutante, he's been winning this season so far, but as you said, he's got the skill set, but he said it's figuring out this course. It does take some time to figure out. But then again, he can go out there, as you said, and make those putts, and then he's right there in the top 10. He's in the mix. So for sure. 2 more names I want to ask you about. Minwoo Lee. You said this is his 5th Masters. He's tied for 14th, miscut, tied for 22nd, tied for 49. So, but that's the good and the bad with Minwoo Lee. So, what do you think of him? And there was one more name I was just as we were chatting. Oh, and another name that's now back on the PGA Tour, Brooks Koepka, which I heard that you are kind of in on Brooks Koepka. So what do you think of Brooks Koepka and the big game hunter? It's been a while, but the big game hunter itself.
What is the world coming to? And I'm the guy that wants to play Brooks and Kenny doesn't. This doesn't make sense, which is it's concerning. I might be on the wrong track here, but again, the ball striking for Brooks has been so good this year, and Brooks loves to grind over a par putt. I don't think he doesn't like to go out there and make a million birdies. That's just not his thing. He's just shown up at these majors, and I think if there is a time for his putter to come alive, it's at the Masters or a major, right? When he's like Brooksy again, and he's embarrassed, man. He's got a son now that he's like playing bad golf in front of. Dad's a 5-time major champion. That's all fiction. You can see that on TV. The son's never seen this happen in the real world. And I think he's looking to kind of prove to his son that you can, all dads are, trying to set examples for their children, and you can chase your dreams and be the best you are. And Brooks, 2 second places at the Masters since 2019 is something you can look into. $8,500 could be a little slightly under-owned as well, given, the poor putting. That's something, that you got to look into. Minwoo Lee is interesting because he's got that 14th place share in his debut. Last 5 majors, he's 4 missed cuts and a 49th. He's playing a lot better this year. And this golf course makes a lot of sense for him. Again, course history, this is going to have to be his first top 10 in 5 starts. That could happen, but also course history is telling us that he's going to finish maybe outside the top 10 again. And if you're trying to take down the big money, you're looking for top 10 finishes, I would take a Corey Connors over Minwoo Lee, if you were to ask me, But Jason Day as well just had those iron changes. They right underneath each other.
Yeah.
Another Aussie, and he's got major pedigree. He's a major winner. He's got an 8th place finish here last year, and he's just fixed those irons up, and now they seem to be firing. We know how good his short game is.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's good. That's good. Good advice there. All right, just a couple more before I let you go. I want to ask you about a few players you're going to avoid at all costs. Like you're not going to put them on your betting card. You're not going to put in your DraftKings lineup. A couple players that could be, at the top, at the bottom of the board. Who are a couple players that you think that is going to get too much ownership, but you're going to avoid just because of, bad form, injury, or anything like that?
Justin Rose, not necessarily going to be like a highly owned guy, but he's $8,300. He'll be 10% plus owned.
Yeah.
So at least avoid being those 10% of idiots that are trying to still find a Justin. Justin Thomas has played in 40 plus majors, Courtney. 3 top 5s in that stretch of golf. It's been absurdly bad. We've got JT at the Masters. He's missed 2 cuts and a 36th in his last 3 starts here. He just doesn't drive the ball well enough to give you high-end finishes at the Masters or any major in particular. If you take a look at Rosie and Reed, they drive the ball about as badly as JT, but they elite putters. JT just doesn't putt well enough to offset that poor driving, and as a result, we don't get any high-end finishes from him. The only time he finished top 5 here at the Masters was in 2020 when it played easy. The winning score was -20. That's when JT thrives, right? The more difficult the course gets, the driver gets eaten up a little bit. So he's someone that I would avoid. And Hideki Matsuyama at $8,900. If you're taking a look at what he gets up to, he is the winner here in 2021. His next best finish since 2018 in the last 8, you minus that win, it's a 13th place finish. You expect him to be this major guy because we see him wear the green jacket all the time, but he's got a 13th, a 14th, a 16th, a 19th, a 21st. He's $8,800, man. I need a 7th. I need a 5th. I need a 3rd.
Right.
Something
top 10. Yeah.
hasn't given you anything good in majors outside of US Opens. If you want to play a deck, you play him at the US Opens. He's balling out over there. And then one more name, right in this 8K range. Matt Fitzpatrick is very interesting. He has not in the last decade, Courtney, 2016 or 2015, I think he had a T7 in his second Masters. Then he followed up the next year with an opening round of 71 to be a tie for 4th in the first round of 2016. That is the last time Matt Fitzpatrick has been inside the top 9 in the Masters after any round, any single round. He's been 10th or worse ever since. He's just never been back inside single-digit ownership, like line leaderboard positions. And he's going to be very popular. I played him at the API, where he's not had the greatest course history, but because I thought he could figure out his irons at the API, just like he should be able to figure out his irons at the Masters this week, which he's never really done. If he's going to be high owned, it's going to be a sweaty fade. It's a spot that I think, you're not going to get that much love from him if the course history continues to show like the resistance that it has towards his game.
Yeah, those names, especially JT, as you said, he's had good moments, but it's been a while. But you said miscut tied for 36 for him. And you said, and he's just 3 starts back on the tour after back surgery. Another guy that's
So many back
um,
injuries.
back injuries. Yeah, so many of them. I mean, I guess the swinging and the violent swinging and things like that. And he's only hitting like I think I've seen somebody hitting the fairway under 50% of the time. So getting the Masters, that'll eat him up. So I think JT, if you got a bet on JT, maybe to miss the cut, that's a pretty good bet.
I'm waiting for those markets to show up because I will
Yes,
be
yes.
going to town on the JT miscut. That's for sure,
Yeah,
along with the
yes.
Colin, so
Yeah,
we'll see
yeah,
how
for
that
sure.
goes.
Ugh. Yeah, back injuries. It seemed like a lot of players are a lot of golfers are really feeling that, especially this season as well.
Yeah.
All right, just 2 more. I wanted to ask you, besides Bryson and Rom, what other live guys do you feel like will make some noise?
Outside of Bryson, Rahm, and Reed,
And
I
Reed,
think,
yes.
I've already said a lot about Patrick. Live guys that could make some noise. I think Tyrrell Hatton's been like under the radar
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yes. I agree.
He's $8,100, had a 9th and a 14th here in his last 2 starts. Those are his 2 best finishes. A 4th place finish at the US Open last year in 2025. And he had 3 top 16 finishes in 3 majors in 2025. So he's starting to figure out the major golf. We see him lose his marbles all the time on the golf courses,
Yeah.
but he seems
Yes.
to still now figure it out when it comes to these majors. So he's had some hot and cold performances on live. I would like to have seen a bit more consistency from him. But again, at this price, you're not going to be, you can sprinkle him in a couple lineups and hopefully get a good, top 10 finish at his $8,100 price tag, probably 12% owned, 10% owned, maybe,
Yeah.
at this price, maybe somewhere around there. I think
Okay.
that's a solid option.
All right, I like that. I like that. And just like I said, just one. Well, I got 2 more, but I was gonna, when it comes to DraftKings, like you said, when people when they love to bet and they this might be their first time betting, uh, give them a little advice of how they should, attack the lineup construction or what types of, because there's so many different ways that you can play, so many different contests. I said they could play, and they can get confused. They got 25 cent, 50 cent. You got the $10 one. You got others. How would you tell someone what to when it comes to something like the Masters and when they're on DraftKings? What contests should they pick and kind of lineup construction there?
If you're going to have to go figure out what DK fantasy is after we speak about this right now, then I would suggest you only play 3 lineups. There's like $33 lineups, there's $5 single entries
Mhm.
or 5 entry maxes. Those are awesome payout structures because you're going to be getting 10% paid out to 10th place finish of what first place is also getting paid out. If you do know what DK fantasy is and you're entering 150 lineups, multi-entering this stuff, the reason I spent 6.5 hours on that stream last night was because we were trying to figure out how to construct Scotty Scheffler lineups. You've
Yeah.
got to put 2 to 3 6K guys.
Ugh.
Courtney, you didn't even guide me
Yeah.
to the 6K range today.
I know.
It's because it's nasty.
Yeah, that's probably why I did.
So
It is nasty.
if you want to be playing Scotty, you've got to have at least 2
You're right.
6K guys in there. You click his name, you've got $7,200 left. There's a lot of 6K guys that show up at the top of the leaderboard, but reminder, there's 42 6K options, I think, this week.
A lot.
There's a lot. So,
Mhm.
you're not going to be able to find those guys. You got to lock Scotty into basically every single lineup, rotate those guys through, and then get the 7s and 8K. You're not going to be even playing an 8K guy.
No, low
You know?
7s. Yeah.
So that's the problem with Scotty. So if you're playing 1 or 2 lineups, I would not even play Scotty Scheffler. You
Right.
got to start off with maybe a Bryson Rahm, Ludwig. I mean, if you're starting off with anyone $10,200 and below,
Yep.
you're not going to go wrong, so long as you're not clicking 3 of them in a row and then dealing with the crap that we have to do with the Scotty's lineups. Make sure you're staying balanced. You go 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. That's kind of a typical range of salaries you want in your lineups. And I think with the Masters, you can probably go 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 7 if you kind of find the right guys at the bottom of the range with Henley, Corey, Harris English, those kind of names that we've just mentioned already.
Yeah, and as you were talking about, line of construction, things like that, and because I haven't set up any Scotty lineups, but you're right. If you go to the Scotty lineup, you said you got 7,200 left, and we talked about some of the guys. I mean, you could probably go Harris English. I'm just going off of, and then he said it gets very, very, very tricky after that because I
Yeah.
mean, you might like somebody like a Ryan Fox, like Adam Scott. Okay, 7,200. So you got 7,100. So you definitely have to dip into the 6K range where who are some of the Ryan Gerard, Aaron Rye, like those are names, but are you confident in clicking on them? That's the Brian Harmon, maybe
Michael Kim, Kurt
like
Kitayama,
them.
Carlos
Yeah,
Ortiz are a couple names we threw around. If you
yeah,
really want to go after my South African brother, and Aldrich Potgieter is, he'll just be nuking it down there, right? So
yeah.
like it's all about the driver. He's been putting terribly the last little while.
Mm,
So, but again, he's $6,200, so that can help you in a Scotty lineup a lot,
yeah,
But
yes,
again, go look at Aldrich's track record before you start clicking his name into every single lineup,
right,
coming into this
yeah,
week. So he's going to
exactly.
give you some upside. But if you go into the 6K range and you're looking at, I'm not seeing a lot of colorful boxes in the history leading into this tournament,
Right,
So
right.
it's it's nasty.
It's very nasty. Like you said, I just did Michael Kim, and then now you're up to 7,400. You still can't really. You said Sanjay for sure. You can, and then Bridgman, he's another name.
Yeah.
Jake Knapp. I mean, there's names in that low 7K range with Gary Willen, JJ Spawn, but you're really leaving a lot of win equity out there when you have that Scotty lineup. So if you're gonna, like you
Yeah.
say, if you're gonna do a Scotty lineup and watch as we talk about it, that's gonna be the lineup that actually wins the big money.
But the chances of that lineup winning in the 50 cent mini max is likely because there's
Yeah.
190,000 lineups of variations in there. If
Yep.
you're going to pay a $33 single entry, maybe there's 3,300 entries there. The chances of that Scotty Scheffler getting all the right combinations in that small contest it's much harder, right? So
Much harder.
it's
Yeah.
likely a balance build takes down that contest, in my opinion. So
Yep.
kind of focus on where you're going with where entering your contest and how you're constructing your lineups for them.
That's good. Yeah, that's great advice for those. Even like you said, even for the seasoned ones that's played a long time. I played DraftKings for a long time. Still, sometimes I have to say, okay, is this lineup going in here? Is this lineup going to go in this contest? So I just spread those lineups in a lot of different
Yeah.
ones. So yeah,
Courtney,
yeah.
I do the 50 cent mini max now
Mhm.
because I like to dabble in the 6K ranges.
Yeah.
This week's 50 cent entry for 150 lineups, it's got 190,000 contestants. We've only got 91 golfers to choose from.
Right.
And like, let's eliminate 15 of them at the bottom wearing suspenders and depends. There's a
Yes.
couple old guys that have no business being in any lineup. So
Yep.
you got to try and find 80 golfers to shove into 190,000 contest entries. I think I'm actually just going to be kind of picking and choosing 5 entry maxes this week and hand
Yeah.
building lineups instead of,
Yep.
simming them out.
That makes sense. That makes total sense because you're right. And with the cuts and things like that, only half of the of the golfers are going to make the cut. 50 are
Yeah.
making the cut, so a little bit more than
Yeah.
half. So yeah, it's always those variables that you got to really weigh out and see. Just get those right combinations. All right, this is the last one since we done talked about everything. Just
I
about
got
almost
no
every
rush, my man.
golfer.
We can
No,
chat
no, I
all
get
day.
it. Yeah, yeah, I love doing this. And but if you had to pick one who do you have? Who does the Model Maniac have winning the whole tournament? Even like just one and done or anything like that.
Patrick
But who
Reed.
do you have? Patrick Reed.
Patrick Reed's my one and done. I've got a
Okay.
90-1 ticket on him that I
Mm.
placed in the beginning of the year, but even
Wow.
45 is still a very
Yeah.
fair number. He's been coming in at similar numbers in the past, and he's playing much better than he was coming into this year. So he's one of the 3 guys, Bryson, Rahm, and Reed. I would say one of those guys is winning this tournament.
Mm.
And I've bet Ludwig. So I can't even really tell you that with absolute conviction after what I've seen the last couple of weeks. But maybe he does. Maybe the course history is good enough to take care of business, but give me Patrick Reed.
Patrick Reed. All right, you heard it here. Patrick Reed is Byron's pick, one and done to win top, win or top three, top five. But I love that Patrick Reed call, so I might actually use him in one and done as well. But I have
Who's your
Xander
guy,
winning.
Courtney?
Xander, I think
You
Xander's
said
got.
Xander, yes.
Yes, I really feel that it's time now. Like I said, he had the off year and he's coming in great form. Like I said, got great course history. I think it's gonna be I think it's gonna be Xander. As you said, two-time major champion. So it's I think he's ready to get back to what he was in 2024. Yeah, 2024. So I really like Xander this
I
week.
like that.
Yeah. So, all right, Bo Byron is been a pleasure, man. I mean, I think we talked about everything, and I've enjoyed this. That he said we love the Masters and love your breakdowns and the model and all that and everything too. But best of luck with everything you got coming up. I know you still got some shows and probably some guest appearances, and so I'm looking forward to the content as well. But let everyone know they can follow you. Trail your picks and with the model on Patreon as well. So let everyone know they can follow you and like, subscribe, and all those things.
Yes, thank you. At the Model Maniac on X. I need to get my Instagram socials up. I need to get TikToking and Instagramming and
Yeah,
boosting with
Instagram
you,
it. Yes,
Courtney. I
yes,
will be out there soon. And the Model Maniac Patreon, use code Masters26 for 50% off your first month. It'll get you, I think, through to the PGA Championship maybe. So would be loving to have you guys in there. I put all my screenshots, all the models you can, find over there. So really appreciate you having me on, my friend.
yes.
Let's have a fantastic Masters. Good luck.
Yeah. Yes. Good luck. Yeah, absolutely. And follow the Model Maniac Byron on all those on X and Patreon. And as you said, he breaks down all the nuggets. I've seen it on all through on X as well. So some of the best at it as well. So great content, man. Really appreciate it. And said best of luck and hopefully we can win some money this week as well. And then we can retire and win enough money.
Go play Augusta, baby.
Yeah, and play Augusta itself. All right. All right, man. Thanks a lot. I really
Alrighty.
appreciate it. And I'll talk to you soon.